sound.
I get to sit into that thing, eh? Uh-oh. The wind changes in trouble.
The wind is generally going that direction.
I know. But that's the direction of the horses too. Well, now you just lost the view of the horses though with the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Probably was a good time.
Oh God.
Oh no. I think I should sit in that chair.
I don't think the chair should be over here at all.
Okay, okay.
That's why I put the wood over there.
Alright.
Well, move everything over.
Oh. That's great. Oh, ow! Stop.
Okay. New. Just setting up the camera and stuff.
Okay. Better? I guess I'm this side.
You want to be that side?
Well, if you wheel me my wood, or are you going to be in charge of the wood? Usually I do wood while you're talking. Wheel me my wood.
Okay, I think we're swinged up. Look out, Zeus. Right back.
Where are you going? Oh, I see. Yeah, that's easier for me.
What is?
How are you using it?
To do what?
I don't know, you had me using it last time.
What do you mean? Smoke.
I'm happy here.
So here we are again. Sunday night, not Saturday night. Too busy yesterday. Okay.
Hi, Zeus.
Um,
Your eyes are gooey. Oh, man.
we've got Zeus. Hey, buddy. Did you eat? Did you eat?
Yes, I
You
found.
ate? What do you want then?
Just love.
Zeus is not a lap dog. He probably wishes he was a lap dog,
Yes, he does.
but he's terrible at sitting on laps, so not a lap dog.
He gets all weird.
So here we are, finally, live stream with our fire.
Oops, dropped my phone.
And how's it look? Not bad.
Do we look okay? We looking good?
Look a lot like ourselves.
Yeah.
It's gonna reduce quality there, so it doesn't suck up the internet.
No.
Well, anyways, we're back for our live stream finally. Sunday night live stream, but all the same, I think, I hope, except for anybody who is that it's the next day. Yeah, it's Monday morning instead of Sunday morning. Zeus loves sticks.
He's off.
He's a stick man.
Stick.
Yeah. Okay, let's chitty chat about some things. We'd love to chitty chat about things. Finished dinner, obviously. So, don't need snacks just yet. Or do we?
We just finished dinner.
Just finished dinner, folks. No snacks required.
You are like a little kid. It's so funny. They eat and they walk away and come back to another room. They're like, I'm hungry.
Should I have dessert?
Well, yeah, I would assume so, but it's only 6:30. I don't
It's
know.
only 6:30. It's not dessert time.
Oh, someone's in New York.
Isn't that Sue?
Oh,
or
I
something?
want no Debbie Smith.
Debbie.
I want to go to New York so bad. What? No wine? Jack and Coke and a White Russian. Ooh. I think I like White Russians. That's the... What's in a White Russian again? Bailey's or something, right? It's a creamy one. Aussie land. Ah, you're supposed to say good day. Good day. It was a good day today here.
Oh, we had a beautiful day today.
Lots of training.
You guys didn't see the last 20-minute live stream talking that we're going to do this live stream. We just had an amazing day. Horses were busy, lessons. I think just about everybody got out for something.
Yeah.
Most were for work. I'd say over half of the horses here were out for work. Training, practice, lessons.
4 people with horses. 4 or 5 at the same time.
Yeah, we had 4 horses out at the same time.
Yeah. It's really good.
Which is pretty good. 3 in the big arena, 1 in the small. Yeah, lots to talk about. If you're new to this, if you're coming in, you're like, hey, what's going on? But if not, a few videos back or so, I started a discussion about fear and working with horses and training horses or just being around horses. A lot of people are pretty worried about, when they're just hanging around or even before they even get there. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but there needed to be something that was sort of encompass everything that we wanted to talk about. When people are asking me what's the topic, well, the topic was some training stuff, some fear stuff, some safety stuff, because there's just a lot of things happening this week. I haven't had a heck of a lot of time to do a bunch of video, but it's all in the works. It's all happening, just not as fast as I'd like. As we've got almost a full house here. We've got 1 more horse coming on Tuesday, or scheduled to come on Tuesday. I'm not going to say for sure, but scheduled to come Tuesday morning. She's also in for the normal training process that I put horses through to make them safer. And so essentially this whole topic, I'd like to sort of have a bit of a discussion on what does it take to own a horse. A lot of people I talk to or that have horses get a hold of me, they sort of end up feeling a little bit, is this what it took to own a horse? I don't remember this when I was younger. I don't remember this when I had horses before, whatever it might be. And they get into it and they start to understand a little bit more, and they say, I don't get it. How come this is so much work? Or I never remember it being like this. And so the topic of what it actually means to own a horse I think is an important one, because it does encompass, everything that you could be doing, whether it's riding, groundwork, any type of training, hanging around with them, feeding them, walking them, caring for them medically. There's you know, in the stream just before the live stream just before this, you know, Roni's a little down and out right now. He's got something going on. We're getting him better, slow and steady. He's a little bit better, and tomorrow I expect him to be even better. He'd probably come along pretty good, and then, like a lot of things with horses, they suddenly they're just cleared up. Seems to be good now, and so I'd like to talk a little bit about that too. Medical things, safety things, training things, things you may not expect, experiences that you guys have had that you might want to sort of say, I had this experience, and man, I couldn't believe it, and whatever. I want to just check and make sure that there aren't any questions that we haven't really, the last, how many are in here? 49 comments. 49? Probably more than that.
I'll be on that tonight.
50 or so comments. A lot of them are just really nice stuff from great topic. Actually, all of the discussion ones I'm putting together, and I'm going to do part 2 pretty soon. So be patient for that one. Other people are writing just really nice things. They like the geese, the little geese. Did you see the geese video?
I was with you.
You were with me, yeah, but I mean the geese video, so you can relive it. It's a cool little one. It was a nice one.
Yeah,
out of all the videos I took, there was probably 5 videos, and that was kind of the best one, where there was a crowd of geese kind of coming around, and then there's the 2 parents and the little goslings in the middle, and cheep 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 cheep. They're just tooling along. That's good. So a lot of people ask about grass around here. Last video is showing exactly what we do. Horses come up this way, they go down that way, there's the grass in the middle, and there's more grassy areas we're creating in between the forest paddock in here, and then we're going to be working more, but we'll talk about that soon. But yeah, the horses eat the grass here. I haven't mowed anything, and sort of keeping in a little control. A lot of dandelions, a lot of weeds.
I'm talking about food, and at Summerfeld Field, she's saying that now because of you guys, my horses are 100% off of commercial feed. She knows they'll be just fine without grain.
It's true, yeah, horses don't eat grain.
Someone's saying the picture's not good today.
Switch your quality. It should be just a matter of whether or not the quality of your stream is too low. So if you look, I think it's in the top right corner, there'll be a little button, little dot, and inside of there or somewhere it'll say quality, and you just switch that to the highest quality. Should be pretty good. Ours is low because I've set it on her phone to be pretty low.
Yeah. But my phone does.
But if we switch it out, it should be top quality. Let's just double check that. 720. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay.
It's probably because I'm backlit. Oh, there it goes. And so that's something to think about, actually. Actually, is kind of lower quality, isn't it? The lighting is poor, so the camera might be having a little bit of trouble. What can we do about that? Well, when the sun goes down, it should get better. I don't know.
We can't control the sun yet.
Can't control the sun yet. No.
Working. There's a good question when you start getting to it of what's the most common mistake working horse owners make.
Some questions in here?
Yeah.
Whoa, there's a lot of chats in here.
Yeah.
Dinner was good. Otaku nerdy fox. Otaku is Japanese. Essentially somebody who stays home. Still greeny at 720 horsepower. Let me double check to make sure I'm on the right network on my phone, and just check upload. Let's see.
She says much better.
Wrong network. For some reason it was on the wrong network here. We've got 3 different wireless networks going on right now. And it was on the longest one.
Okay.
Wow, Nancy wrote a big comment I hadn't seen before now. What video was this on? Fear. Oh man, there's so much to talk about fear. So much to talk about. But what was there was some kind of question?
Yeah, what's the most common mistake rookie horse owners make? So I said once you get into it. Sue was just asking about if we dumped the ashes, and I said yes, because we built this with the insert. So we just lift it out and dump.
Yeah. Yeah, we chuck it
into the garden.
Yeah, it's all just wood, so the ashes are great for the earth. Just chuck it in the ground, and that's that.
Well, I'll start talking about something.
Okay, common. Yes, ma'am. I'm on it.
Good.
I'm talking.
10 minutes in.
Well, I was just checking through some of the comments. Common mistakes everybody makes when you get a horse if you don't have. I'd say the majority of it is handling, and you know it can be so scary watching new horse owners handle their horse, because you watch the horses handle the owners, and it's pretty scary to watch. And I'd say the biggest mistake really is just trying, or I mean, to put it most objectively, I would think is too often they're not viewed as a horse and more of an extension of a human in horse form. Does that make sense?
Nope.
People anthropomorphize their horses.
Okay.
My horse doesn't like me. My horse doesn't like
jerk.
this. My horse is a jerk. My horse loves me. My horse would never hurt me. My horse would. And the idea that they're sort of a human in horse form, I think, is probably the biggest problem. Instead of just or mistake, I guess, that whether or not they think it, have been told that it's normal, they have friends that work that way, and so they consider it. It's only a mistake because it becomes a safety issue, where if a horse is a jerk, how do you solve the problem? Do you treat them? How do you treat them? How do you treat a jerk? And so I don't think it's any different than owning a dog or a cat or any animal that you have to start to understand a little bit better. I think maybe the second thing might be food. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Food and environment. Very common to sort of get pulled into the horse world in a stable. You might not get pulled into the horse world so much if it's just pasture time, I'd say. You're going to go where there's a bunch of horses.
And when you say sort of that, I mean, as a newer person into the horse world, I found that there's a lot of just, husbandry practices? Isn't that what you're referring to?
Horse husbandry.
Yeah. So the idea is that you don't necessarily know that there's so many different theories or methods.
Oversimplify things a little, maybe.
Yeah, people are just sort of taught one thing, and they think that that's the right thing.
That's the way to do it. That's all.
And then it turns out there's a whole lot of ways to take care of horses.
Yeah, which bleeds into the idea that we're sort of topic of this that goes. It encompasses a lot of things. Of what does it take to own a horse?
Yeah.
And it usually takes a lot more than what people think it takes. If you're on full board, then you can kind of tune out and do your own thing and come around on the weekends or the evenings. But to really own a horse, it's a lot more. It's an everyday thing, and it never stops. Um, you're constantly wondering if there's something wrong. Is everything okay? Are you okay? Are you healthy? You eating enough? You drinking enough? Are you wounded, injured? It's constant. And so I think that the love affair that humans have with horses might be one of the, I don't know if it's even a mistake, but sort of a, not a mistake. I know
I
what
know.
I'm
Well,
looking
it's the
for.
same idea of, you see a movie with cute little bunnies or something, and you run out of a bunny,
I want a bunny.
and then they all get returned after Easter because
Yeah.
you realize you
Find
don't
out.
actually want a bunny.
Yeah.
They're not what you think they are in your mind. They're not a
Yeah.
fantasy.
They don't eat as many carrots as you thought.
No.
What's going on here?
They don't say, "What's up,
I
dog?"
bought a lot of carrots, and my buddy won't eat all the carrots, so I'd like a return. So, they're fluffy, but they poop everywhere. It's like getting a gerbil or a hamster. Like, oh, look at how cute it is. It
Yeah.
pees on you and it stinks. You're like,
They
oh,
don't
these
really
things
love being
reek.
held.
They don't want to be held. And so I think horses are kind of like that, where now you've got 1,000-pound animal that maybe steps on you, and you're, oh my, I didn't know it would step on me. I thought my horse liked me. Why did it step on me? I don't understand. And then somebody comes along and says, well, this is everything you're doing not quite right, and you could probably, and then, so that's probably it. A little underestimation and a little bit humanizing the horse to a detrimental degree,
Yeah.
I guess is a good way to put it. Yeah. But outside of that, horses are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll, for most people that I've ever talked to, it clicks for them once you talk about, you have to think of it from a horse's perspective, but the horse is actually thinking, not I think I want to be a jerk today, or I don't want to be friendly, or I'm cranky, or it's that there's something else. There's a fear or a non of respect, whatever it is that's happening. Oh, Zeus is on the mission. He's catching bears back there. Woo, 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 woo.
He's a busy dog.
Mm.
So, but I guess, owning a horse, I guess the biggest mistake might be not prepping enough for me. I think I thought it was easier than it would be in the beginning. I wasn't expecting to have to learn so many things. I thought other people would take care of some problems for me, like a farrier or a vet would you just call them up and then things would be solved. And it wasn't the case at all. You'd have to diagnose some of the things yourself. You'd have to try to figure out what caused something. Things like fitting a saddle or buying a halter or picking a rope for a lead rope, or do you do a type of riding? If you're doing a type of riding, do you need a particular saddle? There's a lot of misinformation out there, so that became overwhelming. I think, yeah, for me that was unexpected amount of stuff to do. But then when you sort of organize it all, you just get organized and scheduled, and everything kind of worked out.
Well, I was
for that.
always very impressed by a lot of, and there's a lot of women in horses.
Yep.
Here where we are, it's majority women, and how comfortable they were and how strong they were at, through illnesses. We saw a lot of them at different barns, and they would be walking for hours or feeding or carrying or taking tests, taking temperatures. I thought that was really very cool. I'd never seen anything like that before. If your dog or cat gets sick, you just drive them to the vet immediately. But with your animal that you have to call a vet to you,
Yeah.
you do a lot more hands-on work yourself.
Daily stuff.
Yeah.
Stalling a horse, giving them meds. It could apply to anything. Worming, grooming, trimming.
You playing soccer? Get it.
This is being busy again. Somebody, Virginia asked, how come you don't put macaroni with the boys? Sometimes we do, but
Yeah.
in general, Ronnie's not a big playtime kind of guy with other horses, just Luke. And he's a little shy in that regard. And he tends to just want to go back to Lena. So there's not a lot there for him. He might come out and have a roll, but other than that, he sort of just gets a little bit worried. And so sometimes we do and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think about the amount of video guys watch. If you were to watch, say, even if you watched a 45-minute video of the day here, it's still just 45 minutes of the day. And there's still another probably 16 hours or so, 15, 16 hours that you're not seeing at all. So it doesn't mean that Ronnie doesn't go out with the boys.
Yeah, he does.
I just, maybe I didn't take video of it at that time or that day, or there's a lot of material, a lot of things, a lot of things that happen around here that you guys, I don't have the time to take a video. And if I did have time to take a video, I probably wouldn't have enough time to edit it all, put it all online, and then, you know, have it available. You'd literally have to be here to catch so much stuff that happens. So you kind of get the more interesting stuff, I suppose, especially if I catch it. But stuff's pretty really nice.
I know. Do you feel that horses are thrown off personality-wise when the routine is changed, like traveling to the vet, like humans getting grouchy? I think they'd be afraid, maybe.
I think no, I don't feel that horses really get thrown off if they've got to go travel somewhere. If they've got to go to the vet, you just load them up into the trailer like you'd load them up to go on a trail ride. I think that's another. I think if they never go out and suddenly you've got to take them out, whether it's a vet or a trail ride or an event of some sorts, then it's all kind of the same to them. They've got to get in some scary trailer, go on some scary ride to some new place that's hopefully not scary, and then come back. And if you do that enough times, it's just sort of ends up being kind of a little bit of a routine, and it's not a big deal. So no, I don't think it changes their personality or turns them into something. They are the way they are, and you just, if they're worried, you just keep getting them past it and helping them not be afraid. Okay, we're back. Thanks for letting us know it crashed. Jenny, you're dropping sticks everywhere.
Well, that wind did that.
The wind did.
It did! The wind came up. They're little baby sticks.
Baby sticks. So, you know, if you've got a horse that's pretty nervous about going places, you can't go wrong by practicing and trying to get it worked out to be better. And even if they are good at going places, there's nothing wrong with just giving them a run around, and even if you just go for a short trip and come back, it's good acclimation.
So Samantha says, what is your opinion on people owning stallions just to say, I have a stallion and I can control a stallion, but they have no intention of breeding it?
I think that if they're managing that stallion in a humane way, you know, the stallion's allowed to go out with other geldings, or possibly other stallions. The question feels a little set up, sort of, to if they are owning a stallion because they want to show they can control a stallion. That doesn't seem fair overall. If, you know, it really depends on the living environment. Some stallions are kept all alone. They don't get any social time. They don't get any play time. Obviously, they're not allowed to be around the mares unless they're breeding.
So now the picture sucks again.
The picture sucks again.
Yeah, picture bad, picture sucks again.
Okay, you people, let me see if I can take a look.
Picture's perfect now.
Cool. Yeah, you know, stallions are fine to have. I don't have a problem with people owning stallions. You want to own a stallion? That's fine. But they must have their social time. They must have time with other horses. They can't be just locked up. It's not fair to any horse to just have them locked up and not socializing. So stallion or not, keep them humanely. If it's purely for egotistical purposes, that seems weird. That seems more of a personal thing. But it really does matter what's the horse's environment. You'd have to fill me in on that before I'd be able to make any. I mean, people own horses for all kinds of reasons. And that's hard to make a good judgment on that if they want to be, you know, if they want to feel that way. If they want to feel better because they've got something that is to other people a very strong, powerful animal that's hard to control, and they feel better that they've got one that they can control, well, I don't know. But if you tell me that a horse is being kept in a stall and it's not allowed to hang out with its buddies and it's not allowed to have fun, and you know, it's locked up for 16 hours of the day or 20 hours of the day in a 12 by 12 or 20 by 20 even, I'd say there's a problem, you know. So
In a perfect world, what steps would you suggest a rookie take prior to buying a horse?
priority, I mean, take priority.
What? No.
What was the question?
Prior. Like in a perfect
Oh, what
world,
steps
what
before
would
should you
take?
take?
Yeah, prior to
Prior to
buying
buying a horse.
Yeah.
Well, so, you know, when it comes to owning a horse, you have to make sure that it's a financially viable option in your life. Take steps to make sure you can budget for it. Budget for boarding. If it's full board, then it comes with hay. You don't have to think about food. Consider where you're boarding. Some places have rules on when you must worm. They'll have rules if you have to give grain. They'll have rules of whether or not you have to have shoes or not shoes. They'll have rules of whether or not you need to give shots. Whether you have to have tests done on your horse, a yearly, say, Coggins test or something. So make sure that your budget is figured out and you're not walking into it going, oh, I can't believe I have to pay for all these things. It's nuts. So I'd say just be proactive in figuring out all the costs that are associated with owning a horse. If your horses need rehabilitation, if they need training, you know, you want to sort of budget for that as well. So that goes in line with how are you even going to know if they need rehab? How are you going to know if they need training? How are you going to know if they've got a problem? Some people buy horses and the sellers are not forthright whatsoever. And you come along and you buy one of this horse and you get it home and 2 weeks later it's lame and you have no idea why. And you later find out that the horse was on some kind of painkiller or anti-inflammatory or whatever, and you're pretty much, you know, it's like a sucker punch. Jen's wrecking the fire. Good work. And it feels like, well, what happened there? How come I didn't get the honest sort of report? So also go into, if you want to be a horse owner, go into it just with the idea you're buying a used car. Unless you buy a baby. And even at that, you still don't really know exactly, but you have to go into it knowing that you might not know. In fact, you're probably not going to know everything that is going on with your horse. And even if you do know it, it doesn't matter anyways, because it might be something totally different or something else just comes up either way. I mean, from there, it's just, you know, um, trying to find something that fits you well. And sometimes they say the horse picks the owner. You walk up and, you know, whether or not they kind of like you or not, but I wouldn't really go on that. I would spend a little bit of time with a horse and just see if it feels friendly or comfortable, whether it's interested in being around other humans. Some don't want to be anywhere near humans. They've been treated poorly. Some very much are very happy to be around. I mean, Lena's a great example. You can't get her to leave you alone. God, go away. I've had enough. And she just sort of looks at you and says, "Are you sure? Because I've still got piles of scratches, you know." And so, you know, watch. And if you are going to go buy a horse or something like that, go to the place and watch how that horse interacts with the owner, how that horse interacts with the people that handle it, how it interacts with other horses. When you turn it out, is it a mess? Is it a pain in the butt? What are you doing?
Well, there's a huge reflection off this table apparently that's annoying people. I don't know if it's your
Aw,
thing or the table.
it's just
Oh, I
my
think it's your laptop.
just my tablet.
I got rid of it.
Sorry.
I solved it.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, the sun's low enough that it's reflecting off of a flat glass surface right back up into the camera that is.
Yeah. Mr. Unknown's like, I can't even look at my monitor.
Aw. We took care of that just for you.
Okay.
So yeah, so I would say those are the things that I'd think about or advise when people are buying a horse. Some people buy horses sight unseen. Springer's a good example of that, and he's a great little horse. You know, so all horses are either gems or gems in the rough, unless they're really messed up, and then you got to consider whether or not it's worth your efforts. Maybe money if you don't know how to train them yourself, and you never know.
Yeah, that's the point. Off topic, but Samantha says, if you have a gelding but you find out that it still has one of his, can they, I'm assuming like one still testicle?
One testicle still.
Can they get a mare pregnant? We have two horses that got castrated at the riding school too young that they kept one of their little.
It's not good. You want to take them both out. You're supposed to wait till they both drop. Some horses will drop one side but not the other. Some vets will do something about it and some don't. But most, any advice I've ever heard is always wait for both sides to drop so you can take them both out. I don't know. You'd have to talk to a vet on whether or not they are still. Is it still reflecting?
Yeah.
Well, we could. The wind slowed down. We could go to the other side of the fire for a little bit.
Everyone's saying the sun will set soon, I guess.
Yeah, maybe another half an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
Just turn the camera around. Go on the other side. Problem is the wind is coming from that way a little bit. It's kind of coming from northwest.
Dave says you alluded to getting more pasture earlier this afternoon. Is that anything you can share at this point?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We got to wait till summertime a little bit more because the only way to mess around in the back with an excavator is when it's dry. If it's any bit wet like it is now, it just everything turns to mush when you get a digger in there. But essentially we're going to create a large area in the back finally where we can make some nice grassy area back there and in theory should be really nice for the horses to be in. And we'll keep on growing that over a little bit.
Maureen thought I threw it in the fire.
It's not in the fire.
Not my freebie table.
So yeah, I mean that can't be done yet. We've got to. I mean, if it were to stay dry for a couple of weeks, I'd probably consider renting the excavator again and building that area out as soon as possible. But it requires an excavator. There's no way it's a hand rake job, and no.
Nope.
So you spend a few $100, you get a excavator in. I've got a lot of experience with excavator now, so I would just work the whole day, just sitting in there and drinking coffee and working. Dig, lift, dig, lift. You know. Sometimes I get a little mad. Why this stupid log?
Set yourself on fire. Carla had asked about what you were talking about. Is that what proud cut is? I don't know what proud cut is. Or does she mean proud flesh? I don't know. Do you know what proud cut is?
Proud cut is a type of if I remember correctly, it's a type of surgery on a gelding or a stallion. What is it exactly? Now, you got me thinking. I know as soon as somebody jogs my brain, it'll all come back.
It's the castration of the horse.
Yeah, but it's a style of doing it. Yes, it is a castration of a horse, but it's a style of doing it. Somebody might say
something about neutering.
Yeah. So essentially, geldings are geldings for a reason. They can't procreate anymore. But being proud cut is God. There's something actually behind it. Somebody look it up and type it in somewhere. I'm too lazy. But there's yeah. I mean, look it up. There's something. What is it? Why does she want to know? What do you want to know? What is it? Is somebody asking what it is?
Yeah, Carla asked.
What is it? It's a type of castration. It's a way of doing it, or an age, or a result of the castration that's different than just normal. Looks so smoky on screen.
I know.
It doesn't look nearly as smoky. Probably because you guys have the light beams going through. It doesn't look nearly as smoky for us. That sun is awful, eh?
I just snipped the Van difference. David, off with the berries.
Yes, the berries always go away.
Okay,
just a twig left.
Traditionally, the term proud cut implies a part of the epididymis, which is the sperm storage site located adjacent to the testes. Was left in the horse at the time of castration. Normally, each testes and associated is removed during castration. Look, it's this great angle. This is better. Mr. Unknown's happy now.
Yeah, I'd be happy too. I'm not looking at the screen, and I wouldn't want to look at that bright screen either. So sorry about that. All better now.
Oh, sometimes they put in fake testicles so their dogs look the same.
Weird.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine being bothered with that, but whatever.
No, me neither.
Yeah, so proud cut is just a type of castration. Geldings are geldings. They can't make babies, which is essentially what the majority of the boys should be. We don't need any more horses. We've got a lot of horses on the planet, like dogs and cats. So we don't make them for food. Just pets. So, any more? We're good?
Yeah, Milet Rodeo was just saying she rode bareback for the first time.
Riding bareback is fantastic for balance. Hope my phone doesn't melt. Look at all the heat going towards the phone. If the phone melts, if it cuts out, it's because my phone melted. We'll just keep the fire sort of low.
We're not coming back because fire's dead.
Yeah, we'll keep the fire sort of. It's hot. It's actually, I can feel the heat this way, even though the wind is going that way. Yeah, riding bareback is great. Bareback, I usually use a bareback pad because I like my jeans clean. If you get on a horse without anything on them, they're oily and dirty and sometimes sweaty, and it is super uncomfortable. It's not. You always know when somebody's rode bareback on some horse because their butt is just it's a shape. I mean, it's the same shape that you see on these dressage pants. They've got the cutout where it goes partway up the butt, and it's exactly the view you get when you ride bareback. But to be that honest, I think it's a fantastic way to ride if you can ride it properly, balanced, in an athletic way. It's so good. It's good for you, pretty good for the horse if you ride right, and you become a better rider for it, 100%.
He asked, have you ever thought of installing a 24-hour live stream camera? I don't even know what that is.
It's a 24-hour live stream camera. It's one of those cameras that puts out a live stream 24 hours.
Well, that's all it does?
That's it. Yeah, I have thought about it. I don't know what I would take video of that anybody actually give a crap about. Who would even care? Who would even watch it? 24 hours? I mean, what would I point it at? I'm not sure. Yeah, I kind of thought about it for the birds.
Someone mentioned that riding bareback hurts the horse because there's no cushion for the horse.
Riding bareback hurts the horse with no cushion because some people ride heavy. You have to ride. I mean, if you think about it, your thighs are softer than the tree of a saddle. They have to be, unless you're riding on your pelvic bone, right? Directly on your pelvic bone somehow. There's no way that you're not going to have more padding than a treed saddle. It doesn't have that much. It's the people that ride as if they're riding in some saddle. They're riding on a chair. You can't ride bareback like you ride in a chair saddle, like a saddle that absorbs all your weight and distributes it around and stuff like that. You have to ride. You must ride properly for the bareback. But in a lot of cases, people do not. They sit too heavy and they sit right on the spine, and that is bad for a horse. So you are correct, but it is highly dependent on how you ride. If you watch proper bareback riders, they're not riding on their butt. None of them are riding on their butt. Proper bareback riders are riding on their inner thighs. And they're ready. They're ready to move forward, backward, and keeping their balance. Their core is strong. Very strong. So that's why I mean that it's good. But it's hard to get right. A lot of great comments on the fear. Have you seen all these comments? Mm-hmm. Excellent comments on the fear discussion. I can't wait to talk about that. They're so long, I think I couldn't even go over them all.
I thought you were supposed to be talking about owning a horse or something tonight.
But anyways, yes. I mean, owning a horse, you have to go into the fear. I'm just making sure there's no there. I knew there was a few in here, and I was thinking, I just got to find them. But then I've been answering other questions, and everybody likes Lena moving around. Training fear, like in the videos, it's good. Do you have room to plant grass for your horses? Already answered that. Yeah, we're working on it. Okay, I think that's it. That's all the things that I need to answer in there. Okay, talking about what does it take to own a horse, and we've kind of covered a little bit of it already with things that you need to think about. So great questions so far on what it takes to own a horse. 100% budget. I mean, most people give up horses because they can't afford it anymore. Something's come up. Maybe they had a kid, and there just isn't the budget for it anymore. So a lot of horses get given up cost. The second biggest reason, or the first, one or the other, why horses get given up and let go. Because if we think about, well, what does it take to own a horse? You got to think about what horses are shuffled around a lot. why do people get out of horses? So two main reasons, I think. One, budget, because it's kind of pricey, unless you're getting the actual value out of it, real value that you think is worth $500 or more. The second reason is usually because people have been hurt. They fall off, or they get stepped on, or squished into a wall, or kicked, or bit, or treated so poorly by their horse that they just are completely disenfranchised by the whole idea of being around horses, and they just sell it off. Luke is one of those horses we've got because of that. Lena is one of those horses we got because of that. Gracie is, I suppose. Too dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? I think Macaroni is the only horse we have that was sold because he just didn't fit the needs of the owner.
It wasn't fast enough.
It wasn't quick enough. But it wasn't about that he was too expensive per se, or he was too dangerous. He didn't hurt anybody. In fact, he's a very gentle horse for that matter.
Yeah.
It's just that, it just didn't meet the needs. So there is that small subset of people who get a horse and they're like, this thing doesn't jump high enough. It doesn't do barrels very well. It's not very fast, or it's too fast. It doesn't fit the needs of the owner, and they go get another one. But the majority, I believe, is based off of those people that can't afford it, or end up getting injured or hurt or too fearful to be around them. So if we get further into sort of the idea of, well, what does it take to own a horse? What should you be thinking about? What should you be constantly sort of going towards to make sure that when you do have a horse that you're not overwhelmed all the time? You can be overwhelmed sometimes. I think sometimes owning these horses, I feel kind of like, oh, not today. I just don't, no more problems, please. And it's hard. But and then we have 4, right? So having one is, if we only had one horse, what would we do with our time? We'd be bored. Well, we only got one horse. Well, I mean, 4 of our own.
I know, but you're actually
we take care of 9. We take care of 9 horses. But ours is a very well-oiled machine here. We got a lot of, and places that have been doing it for a while, they are also usually pretty well-oiled. They've got their feeding schedule figured out. They've got poop figured out. They've got water scheduled figured out if they don't already have automatic waterers. They're checking fences and just repairing them as they go and maintaining. The ones that aren't so prepared to do that are not maintaining their fencing, and sooner or later it breaks and a horse gets out and hurts itself. There aren't any self-waterers, or there aren't water stations near where the paddocks are, so wintertime comes along and it becomes that much more work, and you have to be ready for all seasons. So having one horse is usually plenty for a lot of people, majority of people, and you have to be prepared. So what does it take to get prepared is probably what we'd fall into the next sort of category of things to think about. I'm pretty sure my phone is going to start overheating pretty soon. I hope the sun goes down enough that I can move the phone back. It might even be in the sun already. Is it in the sun? What's the picture look like? Does it look any good? Should we try to put the picture in a, let's see.
Maureen gave money for a pillow for Roni to lay his head on.
Maureen, you are too kind. Okay, let's talk about, thank you again. Roni's, let's talk about, okay, so actually it kind of falls into the same thing because he's a little sick right now. I don't know, I might end up jumping around, aren't I? I'm jumping around again. Don't mind me as I jump around.
Well, hold on to your money one first then, because David said, what is a realistic budget for a horse? Is there such a thing? Not to buy, but to maintain.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot of horses for free. There's a lot of horses that are being given away. People who have their horse, they've had it for a while, it'd be mid-teens, late teens, and they say they just want the horse to go to a good home. So yeah, keeping buying out of it. You can get some are free. Younger ones that have good training and a good foundation would be thousands of dollars for buying, but maintaining, it's true. Well, you have to think about if you have your own place or you don't. Let's go with the idea that you don't have your own place and you've got a board. Well, then we have to think about, well, there's usually three options for boarding. So this is going to go in line. Let's take to own a horse. You have to think about if a horse is going to live at your place, then you have to create a place for it to live, proper facility of some sorts, proper environment. Usually not though. Usually people get into horses, will go board them somewhere, and you'll think of three different options. The first is full board. The second is semi board, and then self board. So self, semi self, and full board. Full board obviously means that you show up, your horse goes somewhere, somebody does everything for you. They feed them, they clean up their poop, they make sure they've got water. Hopefully all of these things are done. Don't get me wrong, they should be feeding them. They should be making sure they have good water. They should be making sure the fences are taken care of. They should be making sure that they're put in, have shelter, someplace to get out of the weather. They should be checking on them and making sure they're not wounded. They should be letting you know if there's something wrong. So that's full board. Full board is where somebody does your job, I would say. That's full board.
Mm-hmm. We're not discussing what full board is. Are you supposed to
Just making sure, because you have to figure out the money for it. So this is your expectation of full board.
What's the sort of money though?
So and then the other two, semi-self, which is usually you pay to have the horse fed, but you provide the feed, like hay, or if you wanted grain. And then self-board is the lowest. You provide everything for the horse and you clean up after the horse. So in regards to cost, it really varies based off of location. This is growling at something. What is it, buddy? Based on location. So if you're more out into the country, it's going to be cheaper. If you're closer to a city, it's going to be more expensive. If you have an arena to ride in, a covered area to ride in, a round pen to use, a barn to stable in, so there'll be a bunch of things. So it's really going to be highly dependent on what you think you need as the owner of the horse, and if you want to work them, ride them, just hang out with them, play with them, whatever. But I'd say an average place will have paddocks, maybe an in and out sort of stall paddock, maybe barn. Some places won't have paddocks, they'll have stalls, but they might have a little bit of pasture to go out or a field, like a gravel field even, perhaps. And then an arena. And if full board is probably going to be, here in the lower mainland, I'd say lower cost sort of place, probably be about $450
for full board.
Well, just the basic stuff though. Nothing too fancy going on. Maybe just
that'd be more than that.
That would be bare minimum, but you'd probably be looking between $500 to $700. Yeah. 450 would be bare minimum. That'd be pretty low.
Yeah, that's just surprised.
But cost wise, 500 to 700. If you get closer to the city, you can get up to 1,000, maybe higher, dollars per month for full care for your horse. Everything gets done. You just show up and stick a saddle on them or whatever you want to do with them, and go about your day. Semi-self is even cheaper, and self-board is usually anywhere between $200 and $400, depending on the facility. And then you got to buy hay, and hay is anywhere between, depending on local or not, it can be anywhere between $400 and say $500 and some odd dollars per ton for a ton of hay. And that'll last a long time. A ton of hay is an awful long time for one horse. If a horse eats, say, 25 pounds of hay a day, you're looking at, I don't know, 40 days or so. Yes, a ton. No, it's got to be more than that. What am I talking about? How many pounds in a ton?
Oh,
That was
pretty-
1,000.
so- Mm,
We got to think about food. What's
I
it going to
know,
cost
you're
a
very,
horse?
very far though. Like, just come up with a round number-ish.
I don't know.
About.
I actually don't know.
Tell you later, Dave.
I don't
We'll do
know.
some
I'll
math
tell
on
you
this.
later, Dave. I don't know.
Dave. Okay, so
25 bucks. You guys figured it out. Do the math. 25 bucks 25 pounds or so of hay per day. And it's, say, 500 bucks a ton. Do the math. There you go. That's if you got a self-board plus hay. Then after you've got just boarding and hay taken care of, you got to think about whether or not you're going to shoe your horse or not. Shoeing a horse, general farriers will do it every 6 weeks or so. And if you did all 4 feet, you're probably looking at about 200 bucks. If you use just the fronts, it might be 120. If you just get a trim, it's anywhere between 40 and 60 bucks. I recommend a shorter trimming cycle, but that's not part of this conversation, is it, Jen?
no.
Jen says no. So
Yes.
so then you've got hoof care, then you've got body care. So teeth, you're gonna float them once a year, maybe once a year and a half or so. You've got to do shots every year. You might need to worm them. Not very expensive, 15 bucks maybe for worming. Teeth, maybe 100 and some odd, depending on the vet. Shots, 75 to 100 and some odd or so. What's some more cost, Jenners? Equipment, whatever equipment you want, but
Yeah.
that's not easy to budget out. Some people say they go to the tax store and the tax store decides what they should buy. They don't go to the tax store to buy something. They go to the tax store to let the tax store tell them what to buy. It's an old joke. Anyways. So yeah, I mean the cost of it, but once it balances out, you kind of get something steady, then it usually just stays there. Initial cost is kind of high with the vet stuff maybe, but and if something goes wrong. So Ronnie's a great example of that right now. Something's kind of going wrong. We were pretty knowledgeable on dealing with problems, but
Someone's asking if it's colic. Carlos said no. Probably seasonal flu, lol.
colic is actually, I had a long discussion with my vet this morning about what is colic. So that's another side of owning horses. If you're getting into horses, you're going to have to learn a lot of terms, a lot of things. There are some generic terms or some terms that are for very generic problems that are so generalized that it doesn't make any sense. There should be something better. For anybody who's in horses right now, if you ever heard the term navicular, it really just refers to some problem inside of the foot. And so colic is exactly the same. It refers to some problem within the stomach of the horse, which is pretty much most of its body between its legs. And so if somebody says, well, is it colic? Yeah, it is colic, but he's not what you'd refer to as colicking, like the type of horse that is rolling around on the ground in pain and whatnot. He's still pooping, he's still eating, he's still drinking, he's still peeing. We suspect that he's got something hurting inside of there. So, and hurting in the abdominal area is referred to as colic. But it doesn't mean we know what it is. So you do the catch-all for now. You treat through monitoring. Sometimes, most times, pain relief, whether it's Banamine or Bute. Those are the two most popular sort of pain relief sort of meds. You want to see if you can relieve some discomfort for them. If you can, they'll probably go about eating. If they go about eating, then they might go about clearing out what's going on in them, inside of them. and it's a lot of watching, observing, and seeing how they go. So that's a big part of owning horses is where you're learning and understanding more and more pretty much every day. I'd say it's a steep curve in the beginning. It sort of starts to plateau, and then something will throw you there'll be a curveball that'll come down the way, and whoa, what is this? And then you get that figured out, and then you're one of those people that knows what that is, and you have some story to tell somebody that you know.
Maria says, I believe there are 6 or so different subcategories to colic.
It's got to be at least 6. Yeah, I agree. You can have all sorts of issues, whether it's in the stomach, in the intestines, because they're huge. There's tons of really long intestinal tract in horses. So
Catherine was saying you had that subpar by your standards hay for a little bit. I noticed that they seem to be eating the hay faster than the old stuff. I don't think so. Slower, but actually she said maybe it ended up not agreeing with Roni. We wondered that too.
Yeah, we're worried about that. We still got some of that hay. The guys did come and take some of it away, which is good. Some of it's really not bad at all. Some of the bales are good. They're green. They look good. And then some are
happy as
these two are great. Yeah, Lena's mostly fine. It does sometimes, sadly, depend bale to bale, here and there. You'll open one up and you think, what is this? This isn't any. Where did you bale this from? The bottom of the hill in a bog or something? There's a bird in here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's you'll get bale. You sooner or later you find. A lot of people find snakes. Actually, snakes are a big one.
I found a can. Remember, I squished a can.
Can, bags. You find garbage once in a while. Sometimes they'll get a block of weeds, rocks, sticks. Yeah. It's not always going to be under the control. It's of the farmer. They're doing their best, but there's going to be some flakes that get wasted and some bales that aren't quite right. But we inspect them all and make sure that they're good and not really crappy condition. But yeah, it's true. Did something disagree with him? Did he just eat too intermittently? You know, they busted open one of their hay bags last night. Night before.
Yeah.
And maybe he gorged on a bit or something. And
that's the word I was gonna use.
Yeah. So we don't know. That's not what really. In the end, there's going to be so few times that you're going to know what's happened to your horse. They'll be injured and you'll have no idea. How'd you do that? You'll look around and there's not a single nail or screw or pointy thing anywhere, but they've got a gash on them. And you just think, whatever, you just treat it. So what he's going through, we look, we observe. So as a new horse owner, you want to be really good at observing what's happening, because you've got to describe it to somebody later anyways, usually a vet. But it applies for everything. It doesn't apply for just health. It applies. Okay, I'm going to change the angle again because I can tell that the sun is.
Yeah.
Shift you guys back. Nope. That points into the sun. You can come over this way. It's not bad, right?
That's fine.
A little better. I'm a little thirsty, to be honest. Getting thirsty. Too much chit chat out of me. Well, we're actually burning through most of the sticks too. That's good. A lot of slash around this joint we got to get rid of, and we can burn it in our fire pit without issue. But we can't make big fires back there. And yeah, maybe. I mean, do something to drink. Maybe coffee.
There's a tap.
Oh, that's a good idea. Just haul that hose over here and I'll drink right out of it. Yeah. So, subpar hay. It's true. That hay was
some of that hay was just garbage. I told him so, and I'd say to anybody who, when it comes to horse ownership, um, if you have your own hay delivery or something, don't ever feel like you can't tell your hay supplier that the hay is no good. They too want to know if the hay is any good, because they need to be able to go back to the farmer and say, wherever you got that from, I don't want that stuff again. That's so. I can hear Zeus, but I can't see him. Oh, there he is. So try a little Pepto Bismol. Leasing out horses. It's another topic to kind of talk about. Anyway, so yeah, so when it comes to owning horses, it's another topic about leasing. Because sometimes it's hard to pay for everything that you need to do. So you say, well, I'll share ownership with another person. So you do what's called leasing. But I don't know, it's sort of a questionable thing. Because you don't know who you're going to get. In Peggy's case, she's got an amazing leaser. She's a really good rider. She's a very nice person. She's very gentle with Peggy, but it's not always going to be the case. And you have to kind of weed those ones out. Yeah, it's hard. And some horses are in very expensive places. They might be in a much higher end barn than our ranchy kind of barn, and it'll be $1,000, maybe more per month to have the horse, and that's a pile of money. Unless you're competing and you're making money off the competition, or you're just plain rich, I suppose, to be able to just sort of chuck $1,000 at a horse every month. I mean, 12 grand. Probably bought the horse for 20, maybe. I don't know. So, but leasing is it's sometimes quite an economical way to own a horse, because you can get a little bit of money, and the person who's leasing, the benefit to them is they don't have to own the horse. They can get in and out of the lease whenever they want, and don't have all the costs, the associated costs of owning. So, as somebody who might be getting into horses, what it takes, topic of what it takes to own a horse, comes costs. There are ways to offset that, and you might have some places that you can say, look, if you want to use my horse for lessons, very gentle horse, feel free to, but I want 10%. 10% of the lesson costs. There's a sort of a kickback for usage of the horse. But it's sort of a form of leasing as well. Leasing is usually a particular amount of days per week or month. So something to think about in that regard. But what it takes to own a horse, finally, we'll talk about handling and riding and training, which is a lot of where I come in. And people have got themselves a horse, and they go about doing the things that they want to do, the dreams that they want to dream and live, and they find out that it's not all it's cracked up to be, because it's hard. It's not like it was when they were younger. So owning a horse requires a real amount of dedication to get to where you want to be. And when you get there, it can be quite the dream. It can really, really be just a peaceful, amazing, symbiotic relationship that requires you to just be just a tiny bit sort of above your horse, but still be a team. And that sort of understanding can take you so far. But sometimes it takes a little bit to get there. So I think it's really important when owning a horse or getting into horses that you consider how much, not necessarily, not into the money thing, but the time. Time is money, the time you don't spend doing work or building something, maintaining something. There's value to there, but that relationship that you're going to have with your horse is going to be highly dependent on the time you spend with them. And it could be very high quality, maybe not a lot of quantity, or a lot of quantity and
sort of some good qualities. You continue to build up the quality of it. But it's really, really important. Horses bond very well to people who hang around them a lot. The consistency of hanging around with them. And so I'd say it takes dedication to maintain some decent consistency and time to where you can build a relationship that'll mean something. And it doesn't mean that your horse is going to love you or it's going to protect you or it's going to, you know, be particularly or overly interested in making you feel good. Oddly enough, they're really generally trying to look to be made to feel good. You know, come scratch me, make me feel good, whatever. Horses aren't, they don't really care how we feel, do they?
What?
You think they care how we feel? Do you think any of the horses are worried that you're sad or something?
No, but they don't like it when you're angry.
Horses don't like it when you're angry, it's true.
No.
But that's sort of a self-preservation thing, isn't it? I got cookies. Oh. Your phone said it's running out of juice.
Already?
Why don't you get that little battery that's all charged up in there? The plug's upstairs, isn't it? Like the cord.
I don't know. You have to find out. You want it for my phone?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Well,
saying.
not while I was still up here.
Oh, you knew your phone was going to run out of juice.
No, I had no idea.
It always runs out of juice. Barb says, for a prospective rookie horse owner, would you suggest leasing a horse prior to buying? Well,
I would think so.
if you're looking to be around horses, sometimes leasing is the only option, because you might not have some friends that want to lend you their horse. Leasing might be the only option you have to be around the horses. And then the answer is yes, absolutely. But if you've got maybe a local place that needs some assistance with some grooming, some exercise, walking around, I would definitely start there for free. If you're thinking about leasing the horse that you might own, like if that horse is possibly for sale, then leasing the horse before you buy, which some places offer, is a great idea because you can spend some time with them and figure things out. Usually when you buy a horse, there's no take-backs. You don't just get to give them back because you don't like them so much. But it's a great idea, absolutely. Leasing allows you time with horses to, you know, practice not getting squished, practice moving them around, practice riding and understanding what that means, saddling, all that kind of stuff. I think there's probably a bunch of questions I haven't really looked over probably.
I keep getting electrocuted. Oh, drum the code. Okay, you're looking for questions?
I don't know. I think so.
David said, how do you know the hay was not right?
It's brown, stringy looking. It looks like some flakes look just I don't know what's the way to put it. Just not proper stalks and leaves. Good hay, you can tell is good because it's got the proper stalks, leaves, seeds, sort of thing. It looks like cut grass. This stuff looks like it was cut and then somebody took a moss rake and just pulled up the stuff that sits at ground level a little bit. Like they got a little bit too aggressive with the pulling up of the grass and yanked up a bunch of the under stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So seems
So-
yeah.
On here, we were talking about leasing.
Mm-hmm.
And Maria said leasing is pretty much the only option in Singapore unless you're a millionaire.
Yeah, I bet. Yep.
So Catherine had said she was considering leasing just to do grooming, daily care, and loving on. And someone said they should pay you. And in fact, usually that's more of a volunteer.
You can I wouldn't lease to just groom and take care of a horse like that.
No.
There are many people who will happily have you do that for free. You could maybe make a job out of it, but not a lot of people pay for that unless you're a professional. But you could, if you had a friend or could make a friend at a local barn of some sorts and says, I'd like to come volunteer a little bit of brushing time. Most places will be happy to have that happen. You'll have to sign a little liability form, and if you get hurt, it's your problem. But outside of that, usually it's a welcome thing to have somebody come in and say, I'll just brush your horses and maybe walk them around a little.
It's okay. We want Catherine to come here and lease one of our horses because she says she retired from a $95,000 a year job, and to this day, my favorite job ever was stable hand. Come here.
Yeah,
You can pay us to groom.
yeah.
You can wash all the horses all day long. Clean horse butts all around.
We'll give you 50% off.
Yeah, exactly.
I just have a phone call coming in. Somebody's phoning. I'll have to call back later. Busy at the moment. I apologize.
Maureen was saying she was thinking of paying for riding lessons and spending time with horses. That makes sense.
Yep, paying for riding lessons is normal.
Sue's having a hard time finding a place in her area just to hang around with horses.
Yeah, it's if you find a place, sometimes you can go to that place and say, are there other places to look around? Sometimes there's local, I mean, Facebook is probably, as much as some people really hate Facebook, but can be quite a good resource for finding places that will accommodate or somebody might know. So I'd suggest that.
And some of the smaller places, like we're considered smallish. We're not some big, huge facility.
Yeah.
And we love, when volunteers get a hold of us, we love it. We have a little family of people that come here and, so you might try a smaller place, even just, find them in,
Yeah, but you're not going to find them in some large directory.
Yeah.
You'll find them just because somebody knows about them, or you can do a search, and they'll just be a smaller place. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could find us online.
Yeah, we're pretty visible,
Yeah.
obviously. Very busy
Yes.
online.
Ooh. Gracie.
We're just watching Gracie posture
Wow.
against Peggy, and Peggy says, yeah.
Have you been around horses and worked with them your whole life?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, who's asking that?
Aida?
New person?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Have I been around horses my whole life? No, only in the past, say, decade or so. When I was a kid, I didn't like it. Didn't like them all. I didn't want to. I was around horses once and twice or something like that, and my cousins had a horse, and I didn't like that either. I tried to like it, but it didn't turn out. Got bit. Feeding it grass. Nibbled on. That hurt, and that turned me away from it. Nobody was there to direct or help, so.
Woohoo! Look who came back.
Hi, Zeus.
David was just asking what you were doing. You made a cameo.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, look, you just brought us a toy. He wants to share his tug toy. Okay. Keeps putting it on the table. No.
Zeus, you gotta come around or something, man.
My arm can't bend that way.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Um,
Hey. Zeus.
Yeah, so is it a good idea to lease or get lessons? For
Drop it.
sure. It's
Okay, come here.
definitely always a good idea to get
There you go.
more time, whatever way that is possible. Volunteering is best because you can start slow. You have no financial obligation. You're just there to check it out and see how it goes, and you figure out if you like it or not. It doesn't mean that your first experience is going to be your best experience. Sometimes it might take a few places. I can't even count how many times people said, "Your horse is so peaceful. I've never experienced this before. They're so quiet." So
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, they're not all the same. Not all places. If it's a high-strung place, you probably don't want to be there anyways. Not all like that, right? So yeah, and then so just to finish off a little bit more of what it takes to kind of own a horse. So I was talking about dedication, being dedicated to
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
getting uh, uh, time with the horses. You got to be. The only way to create a relationship is to spend time with them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be riding.
It doesn't have to be riding.
No. And in fact, I mean, that would be another thing that I'd say people aren't prepared for, how much groundwork to do, or how much groundwork could help your ride. Some people can just jump on a horse and ride. Fair enough. You can, but when they figure out if you put in the time to groundwork, the difference it'll make once you're in the saddle, that's sort of an unknown to a lot of people. And I've watched a lot of people sort of have these huge transformations with their horses, learning groundwork and working with their horses, and not just sitting on a saddle, but on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big underestimation of because it's not really portrayed much in movies. If anybody's around horses, they're usually riding them. So you don't see any, glorified groundwork going on. There's some fantastic song coming on, and somebody's doing
Groundwork.
groundwork with their horse. Just back them up a little and bring them forward. Okay, round you go. And so it's not romantic. It doesn't instill some kind of inspiring song. Of groundwork is just groundwork. It's just I believe you have to do it. And so that right there, a lot of people some people can't even imagine doing it. I don't think it's just not in their repertoire. They just don't. They just ride it. Everything is riding. So, but when you get that, when you do groundwork, man, it can change your whole world. Get rid of all kinds of problems that you might be having or will have. So.
Carla pointed out again as well the cost of trailering.
The cost of trailering. Having a trailer, having a truck. It's true. If you're not at a barn that has access, if you wanted to go do some trailer or trail riding, you might need to trailer out to trails, and that would incur either a cost of helping pay for gas with a buddy, getting your own trailer and truck, or in the case of going to events, once in a while we might have somebody get a hold of us, say, I need to get to an event, can you take my horse there? And it's a nominal fee kind of idea, and that costs money. You got to get in there, got to get him back. And so yeah, trailering. Or if you got to get to the vet, sometimes you have to call up a hauling company and say, can you take my horse to the vet because it's got a serious problem, and they need to. All the diagnostic equipment is at the clinic, vet clinic. Going to clinics, actually, for that matter, if you want to go to clinics, which is not vet clinics, but clinics to where you go to learn something, you got to trailer your horse there. If you don't have your own trailer, you got to bum a ride.
Graham.
Jenny,
That was Graham's fault.
I haven't touched the fire at all. I'm sitting here peacefully, quietly.
Here's a good question from Shirley. Your horses are pretty stable, so what do you do when you run across, say, the neighbor's horse that tries to bite?
Horses that are trying to fight with when she says that. Do you mean the neighbor's horse? Are you talking like say you own a place and the next door
No,
neighbor?
I think
or
she means like your horses don't bite.
your
But
horses
what
don't
would you
bite,
do to if
but you're out and about
no,
and
like
some
meaning your horses,
yeah
our four horses
yeah
don't bite.
yes.
But what do you do when you come across a horse that does bite? Any horse can potentially bite.
Is the horse biting me or biting my horse?
Biting you.
Biting
I
me?
think so, yeah. Shirley, do you mean someone's trying to bite him? I think that's what she's trying to say. Meaning that our horses may not do it, but how do you deal with that? But
Somebody
we'll see.
else's horse?
Yeah, we'll see. Yes, she says yes. That's what I'm saying.
Guess what?
What I'm saying.
What you're saying?
Yes.
What
So
I'm
you're
saying.
working with a horse and it tries
I'm
to
working
bite
with a
you.
horse that tries to bite
Clearly,
me.
it's not one of our perfect horses.
Our horses have learnt.
So she's just cute and
No.
saying a neighbor horse.
Neighbor horse. Okay, well, I do go out to a lot of horses.
Yeah.
I get called out all the time to go deal with some problem that somebody's having. They're not sure why they're having it. Their horses, they're afraid of their horse. A lot of people just end up sort of afraid of their horse. They're a little bit shy to say so, but they do. Sooner or later, more and more stories come out as they get more comfortable with the idea that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have had problems. It's okay to not know what to do. There's a lot of shame in the horse world in regards to, or not shame, but people do feel shame, but shamed people in the horse world of not being able to handle their horse or not being able to ride out a buck or some crazy horse or something like that. And it's expected that you can just do it. And that's the silliest thing ever. There's so many incidents that people probably put their horses away because they just have no idea what to do and they're just done. They can't handle it. And hopefully tomorrow's a better day. And usually it isn't. Sometimes it is. So, so when I get called out to these horses that are trying to bite, there's two reasons of why they're trying to bite. And one main reason, like it comes down to one reason, but two things. One, they're scared. Two, they're in pain. It's probably the only two.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that they're trying to bite is they're trying to make you go away. Horses are never really attacking. Outside of, you don't usually find an aggressive sort of proactively attacking people or things. They're very efficient animals. They're not really interested in you wasting their energy. If they don't feel like you need to go anywhere, well, they won't ask you to go anywhere. They'll just not ask you to go anywhere, whatever. But if they're biting, they're trying to tell you to go away. So if I walk up to a horse and I go to touch or pet it and it's decided it's going to try to bite me, I'll assess a couple things right away if I can. First thing I'll try to assess is, does it feel pain where I'm trying to touch it? If a horse has a wound and you go to try to touch that wound, some horses will kick or bite. Some horses will tolerate and just hopefully understand that you're there to help them. Some horses will kick or bite.
So she's saying she's saddling the neighbor's horse and he's trying to bite. What can she do?
We're getting into details now. The second reason is so I would say if your saddling horse is trying to bite, it's probably in pain. Cinchy horses usually are in pain. It's as if somebody put a belt on you, and it's when they tighten it on, it's just too tight. Of course you're going to say ow. Horses can't say ow, so instead they say go away.
Bite you.
So they bite or they move away. You'll be able to tell something's going to happen before the bite. As you go to cinch them, their ears will go back. Their head will come in. They'll bow up a little bit with their neck. they'll suck in and they'll try to evade the pressure of the cinch. All of these things will happen before they bite. So if you've got to the biting process, it's only because all the rest of the signs that the horse gave you says, I don't want this, I don't want this. It doesn't make me feel good, I don't like it, have been missed. So, or you've tolerated it, you said, okay, I'm going to put up with this. And then finally they say, look, I told you 10 times already, now I'm going to bite you. So,
Yeah, that was good. Have you ever been purposely attacked by a horse?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Have I ever been purposely attacked? If you mean purposely with just out of the blue, sort of, I'm just standing there and it's come to try to attack me, no. Usually you instigate it. And it's... Jen.
Sorry.
Ashes everywhere. That's the cedar burning away.
Yeah, it is.
No, I've never had a horse just try to attack me. Usually you instigate the bite.
Reaction.
It's a reaction. It's not an action, it's a reaction. And have I ever had horses try to bite me? Yes, absolutely. So there's a lot of times I'll be ready for it because I've seen all of the signs up until then. But once in a while you won't. Once in a while you miss it. You're not looking, not observing enough. And I think I've had maybe 2 decent bites, and they weren't that bad, but they were 2 decent bites.
And kicks.
It's a good reminder. Becomes a good reminder of like, yeah, observe more.
What are your thoughts on horses having wolf teeth?
That's fine. Wolf teeth are fine for the most part, unless it's actually causing a problem. I would want to determine that it's causing a problem before I bother with it. And it's really, for the most part, it has to do with putting bits in. So if the person is riding where the bit is interfering with the wolf teeth, I think that maybe some cases the bit doesn't fit properly, or they're riding incorrectly for that horse. Possibly. It's a gray area, but for the most part, I'd say, you could probably leave them alone, mostly, unless there's a problem being caused. And then I'd look at both what's causing it and whether or not you do have to do the surgery to remove them. So. Covered in
okay,
ash.
you're being dramatic.
Oh, there's ash everywhere.
Shirley says, that's awesome. Makes sense. Wow, thank you. Super helpful.
Oh, good. Yeah. Biting is a big deal, though. I've known a few regular biters, not for me, but for their owners. Horses are biting to make you move. If you, the simplest, it's the weirdest thing. I just saw a centipede crawl into that hole there.
Where?
Into that little tiny hole in the...
Down here?
Yeah. Maybe it was a millipede. I don't know.
We
but
always say it doesn't get hot there.
it has to be smoking hot inside of there right now. Maybe not. If he doesn't come back out, he's either dead or toasty warm. Nice
The warmest came ever.
Nice spot to grow a family, man. All 200 of its legs.
I thought centipedes are 100. No?
Well, isn't it 100 each side?
No. Why it's called a centipede.
I don't think so, because
Not
a
a tulipede.
millipede doesn't have 1,000.
Maybe it's one.
Somebody look up how many legs centipedes have. Is it 100? I don't think so. I think it's the length of leg that determines if it's a centipede or millipede, and also the antenna.
Connections looping. Can't hear.
What? Is it working?
No, mine seems to be working.
Let me check. Somebody's got a bad connection, or we do. Still going. Going strong. 27 people. Looks good here.
Always odd number legs.
Always odd?
I don't know what that means.
Really? It means it's not 100. It's 101.
Well, it doesn't mean it's necessarily 101. It just means it's not 100 or
Yeah, it's an odd number of legs, is
98.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
Has to be 99.
Centis is 100. Centipedes between 15 and 177 pairs. Oh, that's weird.
Sweet! I was closest. Bam!
Between 15 and 177? That doesn't make you closer.
Pairs. So we're talking.
Someone says 30 to 300.
There, see? I was definitely closer to 200 on average.
Here. So David says, I saw on the Equus doc, a doc was doing a study on horses recognizing facial expressions in humans. It was interesting. The horses seemed to focus specifically on the human's eyes and mouth. Oh, and FYI, millipedes up to 200.
Yeah, millipedes are just tiny little things. I also think they have different antennae.
Ow, that one was hot. Poop.
Antennae. Microphone's all the way behind me. David, it's a great. I think we can only watch that one in Canada because it's on CBC, which is a national television station for us, or network. But there was a series called Equus, the horse's story, or the journey of the horse, or history of the horse. Fantastic series. And yes, there have been some studies done on how. I guess we're kind of done with what it takes to own a horse, haven't we? We finished dedication, training, money, get some experience. Don't underestimate. That's the hard stuff, but owning a horse is, it's fantastic. I'd never go backwards. I think I'll own horses my whole life for sure. Okay, so unless people have more questions on that, and Jen's left, so I don't know if you do, but David's suggesting if you guys haven't seen, I don't know, because he got it from that other lady in France, but there was a series on the horse, the history of the horse, that was done, and covered a lot of stuff, a lot of different areas. The guys did a really great job. I think there was a couple of guys sort of going through it. One that was narrating it. I don't think it was a large production, but they did a great job. And then one of the studies in there was about how horses can read the human face, the expressions of the human face. And I think there was one part, I think I've read somewhere, I'm not sure if it was in that one, but horses get a little bit concerned when we smile with teeth. A closed smile is a little bit different. Speaking from direct experience and my observation, I'm just going to move a little. It's starting to get a little chill. There was frost last night or this morning on the ground. It was kind of chilly. So it's actually it's a clear, beautiful night tonight. Not a cloud in the sky. Tomorrow's supposed to be great. But anyways, the idea that horses can read our facial expressions is, I think, 100% on. A lot of times, my horses, for sure, if they're really paying attention to me, if my facial expression changes to one of unhappiness, they become cautious around me, because I'll usually be shorter with them. I'll usually tolerate less goofing around or less quality. But I don't know. I think horses are better at determining a problem with a person through their tone. Maybe a little bit. You might be sharper in tone. Right? See, it's a little chillier, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you're not keeping the fire up, so
Well, my wood supply was just...
Your wood supply is gone.
Yeah.
We've gone through all the wood we brought for this fire. It's
Well, they
crazy.
were just piddly little sticks.
Yeah, but there was a pile of firewood down on the ground and in the wagon. But I do believe horses can read facial expressions. They can definitely read whether you're calm or not calm, but some people believe that horses can sort of read your heart rate a little bit. But you'll have a different posture, a different stance, hold your head differently, use your eyes differently. As predators, when we're aggressive, our eyes get just naturally wider. Sort of horses, when they're scared, their eyes open up wider so they can take in more information. So it's a great study, but in practical usage, absolutely. If I want a horse to calm down or come back, I will practice a lot of making sure that I maintain something that looks and feels comfortable, to which they catch on to really well. My grin or my sort of comfortable, happy look usually incites my horses, to come to me, because they're going to expect some kind of lovins, right? But big, huge grins like that, they're saying that scares horses because they show our teeth. Horses don't want to see teeth.
Really?
I mean, when a horse sees another horse's teeth, there's a problem. Yeah, it's usually right
I
after
think
that.
dogs don't think that.
Yes, they do. Dogs don't want to see other dogs' teeth too.
Yeah,
either,
but they
I
want to
think.
see people teeth. They're fine.
Yeah,
run
I
away
don't.
from you and I'm
I
like,
don't know. I haven't seen any studies on that, but
Oh, I
I
just
believe
made
you.
one.
You just made one.
Do you think horses can sense someone's intent? Or
Yeah.
are they a good type of person or bad?
Yes. I think horses are very good at feeling people out, sort of figuring out if they like them, don't like them. I don't know how to explain it really. I mean, Gracie's probably a really great example for that. Along with being able to not necessarily communicate, but to be able to have some form of rapport with a horse in a situation. So they might be telling you where to go, you might be telling them where to go. And I think that 100%, when they can figure out that you are a friend, you'll feel them let down. There'll be a point where they just release and give in and give to you, and they'll take that chance.
Come on.
Thank goodness for noisy motorcycles.
Come over here. There.
What's going on, Zeus? So yeah, absolutely. I do think that horses can very easily grasp intent. They do know if they are in danger, and they will err on the side of caution quite often, unless they are so acclimated to being treated so well that it will surprise them if somebody comes up to them with ill intent. And those are the ones that you want to own. If I were to sort of conclude on what it takes to own a horse or how to get into horses, you want the type of horse that has no real, these goats are driving me nuts. Somebody's teasing them with hay again. But you want the horses that are looking at you like, obviously there's no trouble, you're a human, instead of the ones that are waiting for trouble to happen. Those are the sad cases. Those are the ones you feel sorry for, where you're working with them and you go to reach for them and pet them and they jerk backwards so fast that you're sure that somebody has probably punched them in the eyeball. Gracie's such a vagrant. Look at her. Quick, throw a rock at her.
No.
She can't even hear me. She's so intent on getting under the fence. Look at that.
Yeah.
Is that not connected anymore? Oh, the bottom one's come off. That's why. No, there's one of the staples has probably come out.
Oh.
So the bottom one flexes up a bit.
Barb had said, I just saw it. Barb said something. No, I lost it.
Are they trimming the trees too? Look at her reach up. Why can't she get? Why can't she get?
Maybe she probably feels
she's not a giraffe. Yeah. She's not a giraffe. That's why. There's no zappy zap on this corner. This whole side broke off. And I never replaced it because they never come to this side and hang out on it. Fire feels good. It's a nice night. Horses, yeah. I mean,
Sue says, I notice that you smile a lot when you're with the horses. I think they react positively to that. Ooh, I'm getting covered in ash.
I do smile a lot when I'm around the horses. I find them enjoyable and fun to be with. And there's a lot of times where I just find it funny. And I see a lot of humor in the way they look and then walk around and then try to get scratches on different parts of their body. and very sort of nice feel to how they go about their antics. It's cute,
Mm-hmm.
so feels kind of good.
Catherine says body language, universal horse speak.
Horses are highly observant creatures. Their life is, I mean, ours is too, but I don't think humans are nearly even closely as sensitive as horses. I think mainly because we have the ability to communicate verbally, so we don't rely on our other senses nearly as much. But if you were to go to another country where you don't understand any of the language whatsoever, you're going to use your sense of observation a lot more to figure out whether or not that person means ill intent. Because somebody could be talking nicely to you while reaching for a weapon or something like that. Hey, it's okay. I'm just gonna, and you'll be observing everything about them. They're, whether or not they're standing ready for an attack or defense, or whether they're loose arms, their hands are relaxed, their eyes look relaxed, their shoulders are relaxed, they're not up and stiff. And I think that horses are incredibly good. Zeus is just asking for trouble. Look at him. Just
There's something going on in his head though. He keeps going in there with
keeps
them.
going in there.
Yeah.
Look at Gracie come in.
No, she's just trying to get to that good hay bag.
Oh yeah. So yeah, so whoever said that about horses observing, 100%. I mean, they are fantastic at observing whether or not we're going to be nice or not. And hopefully if you're getting into horses, hopefully you find one that figures you're a nice person all the time.
Yeah, because the My Life Rodeo said that hers and her dad's horse behave around her, but don't really seem to like him. And then somebody else said they can ride, but would always buck off her brothers. Hey, Graham. And then Samantha asked, just curious, when horses fart, why do they always get spooked? It's not like it's going to kill them or something. No one ever has the answer. I haven't found that.
I don't see very many horses spooking when they fart.
Neither do we.
I think
They
that
better just sit there and fart.
yeah, they just let it out and
I would actually like to see it because I've never seen that.
I've never seen a horse spook at its own
No.
gas.
So does your horse do that? Or?
Does your horse do that?
Yeah, is that what you see? Because none of our horses.
No, we've never
they
seen.
just keep eating while farting.
Yeah,
or
they just let it
run and
out.
fart or whatever they're doing. It never phases them. I've never seen that.
No.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure they're pretty well aware of their own
Bodies?
gas. Yeah, their bodies.
I
So
would think so.
we haven't seen it yet, so can't
No.
speak of it.
I think animals are my happy face. I feel my stress melt away when I'm with them.
Yeah, a lot of people do feel that way, and they'll get into horses feeling that way, and then something will freak them out, and they won't understand, and then you sort of lose the happy place a little bit. But it's, I don't know about being far and few between, but it can be. And when you understand that, when you get a good grasp of that, absolutely. There's so many times, no camera, no nothing, just come out with a tea or coffee or something like that and just watch, or just go over and just hang out with them while they're eating. They'll come over and want some scratches or just want some company maybe. Yeah, super peaceful for sure.
My Life Rodeo says, a joke of mine is my horse's farts are her booster. She always walks faster when she farts. And then Samantha answered, yes, Katie Babe does. Cody desert or doesn't take off and starts wearing really fast. I don't know what she's trying to say, but I take it her horses are hilarious when they fart.
I don't know, maybe.
And Carla did 10.
Jeez.
Take video, Samantha. I want to see that actually.
Stick it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You guys have seen Gracie run around farting and stuff, and Macaroni, when he lies down and he gets up, he runs off and just gas comes shooting out of him. And I've never seen them really freak out because they're doing it. I think it's more that when they're freaking out, or running around or being silly, that it just comes out. They don't control it. They don't care.
Because Peggy the other day was standing there and she was eating and she just lifted her tail. It was like,
Yeah.
and just farted,
Super
farted
common.
some more, and super farted, and didn't even move a muscle.
You can actually sort of trigger a horse to release gas by lifting up their back legs.
Oh.
Very, very common thing. When you go to lift up the back legs, I wonder if we should do that to Roni.
That might help him.
Maybe. But they'll release gas after a couple of lifts, like for trimming. So I do a lot of trimming, and almost every time. I mean, there are videos out there everywhere about farriers working on horses, and they go to lift the back leg, and the horse farts all over them and stuff. It's funny.
Yeah.
Some of them poop. They can't help it. There's a reflex in there that just makes it happen. So it's a nice fire.
Thanks.
It's good wood.
Or skillful fire maker.
Yep. Skillful fire maker. 100%. And what was that one? Carla, thank you. We've got a supply list of things that we're going to go pick up pretty soon, through any of the help donations or anything that's come in. We need some hay bags and stuff, so we're going to go and
Oh, no.
what are you doing? Don't
Stop.
wreck the fire.
Everyone's saying go try it on Roni.
Do the leg thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, might help him. He might also get really mad at me. He finds it uncomfortable. So anyway, so we definitely take very seriously everybody who's ever helped out and stuff, and we've received a nice letter and a little bit of generosity from one of the viewers by mail, normal mail.
Sure.
Who brought up a great point that when it's not done over YouTube, then YouTube doesn't take any, because YouTube always takes a little bit because it's a merchant cost, and then if it's a credit card, then the credit card company takes a little bit, and so it doesn't all arrive. And but everything is going towards making sure the horses have because the hay bags get worn out. Done video on hay bags, and they wear out. They drill holes in them. They just, oh, that reminds me. That's why that hay bag was over there. Really punched a massive hole in one of them. Enough she could fit her whole nose in. So, one of the hay bags has been ripped over. So I think probably it just took off an old stitch, but it got ripped open so much, one of the horses can stick their whole nose in. So, the hay bags need replacing. They're not overly cheap. Each one is minimum $60, $90 for a bigger one. So it helps.
Do your horses neck rein or plow rein? I've never heard of plow rein.
What's a plow rein?
I haven't heard of that. And our horses don't neck rein either.
Neck reining is teaching a horse to neck rein. You have to be pretty cautious on how you do it and make sure that they're not leaning into the assisting rein, which is essentially the rein that's falling onto the neck. So I don't do a lot of neck reining myself because I don't have a lot of use for it. I actually have very little use for neck reining, because usually what I'll do is it's called that because you're just steering the horse left and right when you're going forward. So because I don't have a lot of use I don't want to have to use my hands to steer my horses. To neck rein means you're using your hands. So a lot of my riding, as I've done in some live streams, and I think I've demonstrated a couple times here and there, I'll be trying to steer my horses with my body and legs. If all else fails, I will use my hands to normal rein. I don't know if that's plow rein.
Yeah, plow rein. They said the way you rein. Plow rein is pulling to the side. Pull on each side. The rein you pull is the direction you want the
Yeah,
horse
okay.
to go.
That's fine. So, okay, we'll call it plow reining then. It's a normal cause and effect type of reining style, steering style, where you pull on the left and you go left. You pull on the right and you go right. But I want my horses to graduate far beyond that, because there's going to be times when you might not have your reins, or your hands might be a little bit busy, or you might want to control the direction of your horse without moving your hands at all, or while concentrating on collecting them up, or having them kind of do a counterbend, or you want to control the back end as well, and your hands are busy doing something other than steering one direction or another. So I find neck reining not useful for what I want to do at all. I might as well just be plow reining. So I don't have a lot of uses for plow reining. I don't have a lot of uses for neck reining, but I got to start somewhere to where my body and my legs mean something. So it starts with the most direct way to teach a horse to steer, which is the same way I do on the ground, which is to ask them out, not to pull their nose, but I'll ask their nose to come. And if I have to, I'll bump it over, but I don't want to have to yank a horse's head around. They should just go with the feel of what I'm asking, which is a lot of where neck reining is hopefully coming from, but not for everybody, where you ask for the opposite direction that the rein is laying on the horse's neck. But again, it still requires using the hands. I don't have a lot of use for it. I don't teach it. I teach the idea of it if people want to understand what it is. But I still think it's a very elementary way of having a horse ride around. So it's a good way. There's nothing really wrong, but there is the concern that the horse would lean into that assisting rein, lean into and counter bend, or put pressure against the rein that is laying on their neck. That's the biggest concern with neck reining.
Dee Dee says, hi, not sure how to phrase this, but it seems that just like some people are much more sensitive than others, and the animals may feel what others feel. We always say macaroni's super sensitive.
Our horse is empathetic. I don't know if they can get to a depth of what people might feel, but based on what they are feeling that you're feeling, they might feel safer or less safe. But I don't think they would fall into, if you're sad, they're going to be sad, or if you're angry, they're going to be angry, or if you're happy, they're going to be happy. I think they would more rely on whether or not what you're feeling is good for them or not. Horses are very selfish creatures, and not necessarily in a bad way, but just out of pure survival. Nothing wrong with it. But they're very good observers. Whether they're empaths, empathetic or not, I don't...
See, Carla's saying, mine was when I fell off of him. Now, I say that about macaroni.
Oh, horses can be very calm and understand there's nothing that's going right now, and they should just stop and not be afraid and stay calm. Yeah, I think some horses can be sound of mind, and they may have an understanding that if you've fallen off, you might have hurt yourself. Maybe. Yeah.
Or just curious. What happened? Why are you on the ground?
Yeah, usually it scares horses. If you fall off a horse, it usually scares them. You usually get pretty concerned because you're not supposed to be on the ground, and maybe you probably drag their head down by hanging onto the reins and stuff like that. So it can be quite concerning and scary for them.
This is an interesting one, actually. Some people prefer using mounting blocks because they say mounting from the ground in the saddle hurts horses' withers from rocking motion of pulling horn and saddle towards you and then backwards. You sit down. Comments, thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Mounting blocks are 150,000% better than mounting from the ground for the horse.
Really?
Absolutely. If you don't believe me, if somebody says, well, I don't know about that, I'd say go get a kid, a small child, to climb up you, and then do it again from a chair. the stress on the joints in the body, unless you're really super strong, um, and it wouldn't take much to just find something that's 10% of your body weight, right? In fact, it would be way more than that. Most children that are going to piggyback are probably going to be 50, 60 pounds. So we're talking 30% of most people's body weight.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
So we're usually not above 20% of a horse's body weight, or shouldn't be. And so if you have a 50 or 60 pound child sort of climb up onto you, if you weighed 200 pounds, I don't even weigh 200 pounds, but it's hard to manage a stance. Getting on from the ground, especially when you use a stirrup, creates great leverage on the far side of the saddle because you're using a stirrup to leverage yourself up, which leverages, science just says so. You're using a stirrup to leverage your way up, and that would leverage the saddle over, which would be, has to be, and is proven to be hard on the horse. So yes, 100% agree. I always use a mounting block if I can, or a log or a rock. I usually never try to haul myself up. One, because it's hard, but two, because I know that it throws a horse off, and makes a mounting experience probably a little undesirable. I'd probably want it to be as good as possible.
Maria says, I've heard Americans refer to mounting blocks as dude launchers.
A mounting block is a dude launcher?
Yeah, launches a dude, I guess. Greetings. Have you ever been kicked by a horse? If so, what damage did it cause, if any?
Yeah, I've been kicked once for sure. Bruise, scrape. That's about it. Emotional damage. Emotional sort of frustration. When you get kicked or bit or pushed over or stepped on, we'll get into the fear aspect of being around horses for sure. You can lose some confidence real fast. You become naturally and innately a little more fearful and cautious around them until you build your confidence back up to where you are good at observing whether or not something is going to happen. And so because you missed it, if you think you're good and you think, oh, I'm good, I'm not going to get kicked, and you miss that, you miss all the signs that got you kicked, and you got kicked because you missed all those signs and you were dumb enough to get kicked. It can kind of take you back a little bit and make you fearful because maybe you're not as good as maybe you thought you were or something, right? And so there's an emotional, more than physical. I mean, for me, it was more emotional and mental, I guess. Physically, I had a bruise and a scrape, and it hurt for a little bit, a couple weeks, probably, maybe less. It was in the arm, so I had blocked. I knew it was coming. Saw it coming and blocked, and it was fine overall.
Yeah.
So good question. You never know. I mean, it's good to know that. And many trainers out there, the ones that are honest, that will say, I mean, plenty of people say, I've never had a problem with a horse, and I've never seen something or other or whatever. I'd say you're either lying or haven't seen enough horses. It's one or the other. The fact of the matter is everybody gets hurt. Everybody falls off. Everybody gets kicked. Everybody gets bit. Everybody gets pushed. Everybody gets stepped on. But hopefully that one time you learned. And the next time it'll either be way less, or you will be just out of range, or stop it before it happens, especially if it's just your own horse. Dealing with many different horses and many different people's horses and many different situations, I'm bound to have something happen unless I'm overly cautious, which I am. So,
How do you handle a horse that gets panicky at a gate as bringing into pasture? Probably want to say thank you to Teresa too.
Teresa, super duper special supporter. The only person so far has received a special supporter dedicated video. Thank you again. What do we even do about all this, Jen? I mean, people, you guys are way too kind. She's checking on macaroni. Very kind of you. Very kind. Question about gates. I've done a few videos about gates for horses that are going out into pasture. I did my last live stream. I was letting Sky out. Yeah, it was Sky, and he tried to leave before I was ready for him to leave. And I spent a few minutes for sure preparing him that I was going to take the halter off, but he needed to stay with me, even with no halter. So horses that are eagerly waiting to go out to pasture need a lot of practice with haltering, leading and haltering. I would work a lot with a horse like that is waiting to leave. I would work a lot at making sure they understand how to keep their head down. Plenty of these horses, you're taking the halter off and your arms are up above your head. They're not with you anymore. Their brain is already just waiting for that rope to come off. They lift their head out of the halter to get it off. They don't wait for you to take it off. They lift their head out of it. All of these are signs of things that the horse is not waiting on you. It's only waiting because it has to. And even at that, it's not, because it's actually sort of forcing the issue, saying, I'm ready to take off and I'm going to take off. You just undo that knot and then they're gone. Great way to get kicked or pushed over. For horses like that, I do what I did for Sky, where I go to indicate I'm going to start to take off the halter. His head goes up, I'll bring it back down. If he is further trying to, or he or she, a horse is trying to keep their nose away from me, I'll pull it in. If they continue to fight that, I'll do groundwork. I'll do groundwork until they're with me. Then I'll try again. I'll try to go take the halter off. They put their head up, I'll bring it down. And rinse and repeat as needed. If they still don't come around, go put them back in their paddock and try again, maybe when you have more time or patience. But if they're not willing to behave to go out to pasture, then they don't get to go out to pasture. They have to be patient. You have to make it so they understand to get the halter off, they must put their head down. And you release the halter when their head is on the downward movement. And so they're not lifting their head out of the halter, if that makes any sense. And that takes time and practice. And then even once they do get the halter off, you still wrap it around their neck. One of the techniques, because you might lose the nose. So one of the techniques that I use is to elbow into their shoulder while holding their neck with what I've got left of the halter. And most of the time it'll succeed. They'll yield away from me because I've already got the groundwork in place anyways to have them yield away from me. And I will push into their shoulder while pulling their head over. If they comply and they do really well, then I'll relax and let off and I'll ask their head down because I still have the rope around their neck. If there's being a lot of trouble and they're still not getting things figured out, I'll put the halter back on and we'll start from scratch. And it can take anywhere between 3 to 10, 15 minutes for sure to get a horse to where they're not just being a knucklehead about being freed up to go out to pasture. And it sucks. It can be really time consuming and quite dangerous. So I would practice the halter taking on and off business in the paddock before I even bother getting out there. I want to make sure I can get that halter on and off with their head down and calm. And when I take it off, they should be looking to be with me, because the next example in that video is actually Luke getting his halter taken off, and he's very calm about it. and he waits with his head low, and he sticks with me, and he's got his nose in, and he's waiting for me to take my arm off of him, even though I don't even have the halter in my hand anymore. And he waits until I walk away. He checks in one more time, and then he leaves. That's the goal. So good luck with that. That was a long one.
Yeah.
That was a long one.
Carla says, you keep your ranch running and keep helping this growing horse family. We love this channel and the atmosphere you both create here for us to enjoy.
Who says that?
Carla.
Thanks, Carla.
My Brody says, what are your thoughts on horse adjustment or horse chiropractors?
I think it's great. I know some people think it's hocus pocus of some sorts, but I don't. And I know a lot of people that don't. A lot of high-end horsemen that I've talked to that don't think it's hocus pocus at all. We actually just had a guy here that I was able to have a chitty chat with for a little bit, and I asked some very hard questions that are not that easy to answer, and there were some good answers, solid answers that I knew that I could run with. I've seen a lot of stuff. If you're interested in learning a little bit or hearing a little bit about some methods out there, Jim Masterson's got a whole series on YouTube that I know about. And the method that this guy was talking about, I think was called the Tellington method. Tellington something or other. Supposedly very good, really good thing to learn and figure out. And so I do think that there are cases where horses need massage or chiropractic work to put things back in line. They definitely have bones that come out. They definitely have muscles that hurt. They definitely have stresses that can be relieved through certain touches and feels and movements.
Do you think
and
that
massage.
then affects the horse's behavior?
Sore back, neck, absolutely, 100%. You can mentally bring them back to you and hopefully bring them to a safe place, but it doesn't mean that physically they're feeling any better. Tana's a good example at the moment. She's got
Tellington method.
the Tellington method. Okay. I'd only learned about it today, so I'd forgotten the name. As always, I forget stuff. Tellington, I'll have to remember that. But you know, she's coming around so well mentally and emotionally. Physically, she's stronger and stronger. But something there just needs some good stretching or release, and that's not abnormal. I'm not saying it's normal, but it's not abnormal. You know, for those that have been stressed out and holding their stress, there'll be a time when you'll just need to bite the bullet and have somebody good come in and just try to relieve that for them and find another way to.
It's 9 p.m. I have to hit it.
Oh yeah,
9.
9 o'clock. How long have we been at this? A couple hours now, I
Yeah.
guess. Anyway, so yes, I do believe in chiropractic stuff and everything, but
Someone says Sean Davis uses chiropractor.
Sean Davis.
I've been familiar with that
Davies?
method for David saying this, that method for years. Some of the Icelandic horses I was looking at used this philosophy. He's
Good.
the one who said it's telling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that those that don't believe in it have not properly researched it or figured it out. That's too bad for them. There's good sound science behind that it works.
2 hours and 18 minutes.
Whew. Okay, we're really cruising along in this. It's 9 o'clock. It's starting to get darker. I think we've got a few things to do. Got to feed some horsies. Well, they're all kind of fed, but top them all up.
Oh, there's something underneath the deck.
Zeus is going nuts. He's trying to catch a mouse. It's good.
It's underneath the pool deck.
It's underneath the deck.
Yeah. See?
Get it, Zeus.
It's
Where's
like,
the mouse?
where did it go?
Zeus, where's the mouse? It's going crazy. It's too dark for you guys to probably see him, but
Isis is here.
Isis is
Hi,
here.
Isis.
Hi, Isis. So you know, there's lots of great questions here. I mean, I think it's fantastic. If this live stream is all recorded, anybody who came in halfway or part way or in the beginning and left and came back again or something like that, you know, there's definitely some parts to go through, and we're really still trying to figure out how we're going to turn this into some kind of podcast that can be, you know, played on a radio or something like that. You know, something where you don't have to have YouTube going. You can download the audio. We'll figure it out because there's just so many gems in here. And then the other thing that we want to do is go through our live streams and take out the good, because there's a lot of chatter. that sort of happens. But just take out the good parts and then compile that into something a little more bite-sized. 2.5 hour live stream. Nobody wants to watch it too. It's like watching a movie. Yeah. Not a very good one.
Speak for yourself.
Stare to fire. Oh,
Oh,
Jan,
Graham.
look what you did.
Broke my fire.
Didn't do anything. So yeah, I think we're getting close to finishing up around here. Unless there's some kind of good question that's come through that we should answer. We'll be back though. I mean, we're doing live streams all the time. This week is a little busy, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get something out for some live training I really want to do.
Isa says, thanks for your help the other day. Great ride this afternoon.
Oh,
Yay!
good for you. Good. Yeah. Well,
Vinny's riding.
yeah. I did want to talk a little bit about.
Carla says we do, or we wouldn't still be here. Yeah. Squirrel.
Zeus is on squirrel duty.
Sean Davis has the Colorado Rainsman.
Sean Davies.
Oh, there you go.
Sean Davies. Yeah.
Oh,
Colorado Rainsman. Yeah, I know. I've talked to Sean. I'm heading down there hopefully this summer, actually, for a few days. What's that?
Are you now?
Well, I really want to.
Mustang guy?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Because he's invited me down, and
Yeah.
and
Cool. We'll do girly only fireside chat or something.
yeah,
Just Jen.
I've got to.
That'd be a lonely fireside chat.
I can't. No
Just
way.
me.
I'm sure there'll be a pile of people that'll come join you. You'd have
Isis
a better
and Wendy.
fireside chat than ever.
No.
I'd come back like, get rid of that guy. Where'd all the girls go? That was fun.
David can come with Pike. We'll have 2 dogs.
David
and
will
2
come
people.
with Pike. 2 dogs. Yeah, Sean is a really cool guy. He's got so much knowledge in his head that he doesn't have enough time to share. And I've talked to him about that, about his YouTube channel. And he says he's trying to work at it and figure something out. But what I really want to do is I want to head down there for a few days and just spend a straight few days just essentially picking up and picking his brain for everything that all of the things. And I don't know, he'll never watch this, so I guess I could say whatever I want, but I find the guy brilliant. I find some of his methods just fantastic that I've taken advantage of as well. I think, oh, that's a really good one. I like that idea. And he's picked up his stuff from here and there, and he's come up with his own ideas. And I really want to know more about that, and definitely about the Mustangs that he's continuously. I mean, he's always got Mustangs coming in. So he essentially said to me, "Come on down and just play with whatever you want." So I was just going to take just about every camera that I own, 50 memory cards, and 2,000 batteries, and just set them up 24/7 and go crazy. And then spend the next 2 weeks editing probably, but and probably there'll be tons of stuff that Sean will want as well. So I'll be happy to share that with him so he can kickstart things over again, because he's got so much to share that has already helped the horse community, anybody who's found him. So check him out if you haven't. Colorado Rainsman.
Isa says we got you covered. Bring home some Mustangs.
Bring home some Mustangs. I'd love to. Yeah, I
David
would.
says he'll come help me out around the ranch.
Is that right?
But you
Yeah.
have to start calling it a farm.
Sure. So exciting. It's there's a lot of things that are going on. Just it's amazing. I'd have to say things are probably going faster than I think are kind of manageable in a way, but we're working at it. We're working at it real hard.
You're smart. You're doing well.
And horses are doing great. You know, Isis is just saying she's got some good riding going on right. That's awesome to hear. I'm really happy to hear that, to be honest, because yeah, her horse is Vinny, and he's definitely one of the coolest horses that I know. Standard breds are great. There's 2 standard breds that I've been involved with out of a bunch of standard breds that I consider right up there on my list of horses I would want to be around. Vinny's one and Benny's the other. Supposedly I get Benny one day. Not likely. I think his owner would have to die first.
I think that's the rule. If she dies.
If she dies, I get him. Oh man,
Don't wish anything, man.
Benny's so neat. I would love to see him and Vinny together, to be honest. I think they would be so cool together. Anyhow, so great to hear. You know, there's a lot of success. I got a lot of success stories, a lot of people that are really coming into things. And summer or spring's warming up. Summer's going to kick off. We'll be out on trails. I wish I could do a live stream on a trail somewhere, to be honest. I don't think my phone network would handle it though. So
Dave's asking for an update on Roni tomorrow between videos, please.
sure, man. I'll let you know what
That's what I said.
Ronnie's doing.
So we should post a picture. Hopefully he'll be eating or drinking.
He is eating and drinking.
Yeah,
We should top up his water tip top so we can see how much goes down.
it's very high.
Hmm?
It was already very high. It's not going down very
Yes,
much, but
it's yeah, but I mean right to
overflowy.
the tip
Yeah,
top.
yeah.
That's what I mean. And that's another way to sort of tell how much water a horse is drinking is just to fill up their bucket all the way. And then you come check in the morning, you check midday or something like that, and you'll see, is there an inch missing? Is there 2 inches missing? And you can make a calculation based off of that. Rory's not that big of a drinker, and he is still peeing, so it's good.
He's
He did,
peeing, yeah.
I did see him. So this is another thing that comes with owning horses and getting used to owning horses is checking out, are their poos good? Are they peeing properly? What color is it? I mean, you essentially have to be your own mini veterinarian. And that comes from asking a lot of questions. I am every week on the phone with my vet, questioning something, wondering about something. And he's been very good about amusing me with answers. We get along great, which is very helpful. Get a vet that you get along with, good to talk to and helpful. They're invaluable. Refer everybody to them. Make sure you pass on the
Well, he
same
probably likes
generosity.
you because you're a scientist too. You like that stuff.
You think
You
he
ask
likes me?
intelligent
I
questions.
don't know if he likes me. I think he kind of likes me.
What?
I think he sort of tolerates me. I'm like that pesky, like a little brother maybe that just,
Everybody likes you. Stop.
oh yeah.
He likes you.
God, all you guys can see is the fire now. It's really changed color here.
Yeah, I got some comments on.
Hugs to Roni. Love Vinny, eh?
We gotta head out.
Okay, we gotta shut her down around here. It's nuts. I can't believe how fast
Could do
time
this all
goes.
night.
We could do this all night
Yeah.
long. It's really nice.
Only the horses require food.
Horses require a top up. They've all got food, but we
Yeah,
gotta top
everybody's
them up
got hay.
and make sure they last the night.
Yep.
So it's been good. Thanks everybody for coming in, and thank you
Yeah.
everybody who's helped contribute to, and I mean monetarily, to the care of the horses. All of it goes right back into them. They get better hay bags. They'll get better hay. Maybe it goes into a new bucket for somebody, or it all goes back into these guys. And that's a big deal to us. It's a really big deal because we care for them 24/7. We've got 9 now. We'll have 10 on Tuesday. It's getting excessive.
Never again will we have
We-
10.
Yeah, I specifically said a while ago, no, I'll never have 10 again. I can't.
But
handle
you have
this."
someone doing the poo now for you.
Um,
No?
it's not just that. It's
Oh.
it's making sure they're fed, making sure they're cared for, watching for. I mean, taking care of 10 horses can be a bit of a chore.
A bit
But-
of a chore.
Yeah, but when everything's going well, man, it is just nice. It's really nice.
Everything is right now. The horses get
Everything's
along great.
yeah, except for Roni,
Well, I know, but
and the horses are getting
along.
along.
I mean, yeah. Somebody's always gonna have something. It's like having 9 children. Somebody's gonna have a runny nose.
I'll do a detailed horsey check in the morning,
Yeah, make sure Roni's okay.
and
Oh,
everybody was
David.
hanging out. Get out of here, man. Thanks, David. You definitely did not have to do anything like that. You guys. I mean, there is the other side of it that everything's getting a little better. I mean, even volunteers that come here and offer time. is still a contribution that we take and value very highly.
That's what I said.
we're
feel
always super
very
thankful to
privileged that people
time.
want to come and do that
Yeah,
with us.
yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
This is Donata. Somebody actually mentioned very quickly that animals such as birds and squirrels can get into horse water and cause contamination. So they said perhaps this was hurting Roni. Although this morning I completely washed out and scoured his water tub and put in fresh water, but
yeah,
I don't even know if that thing applies. But
it's possible that a bird might come along and drink, and then they turn around and go take off, and just they take off, they go poop in the water or something like that. That wouldn't be very good. Lena's fine though, so hard to say. If I were to say it's anything, I'd probably say he's just struggling through some of the crappy hay that they gorged on because they knocked off one of the hay bags and then dragged it all over the place. Idiots. Ah! So anyways.
All right.
We should go.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, everybody, again. Thanks for coming and joining in the chat. Hopefully it's been kind of informational. We really enjoy sharing this stuff, experiences and stories and ideas. We'll get on with the second part of the discussion of fear pretty quickly. And I want to talk about a few training ideas that I see commonly that I think would be helpful for people. So I'll see if I can demonstrate on an actual video, not a live video, maybe a live video. We'll see. But that's it for now. So good night to everybody who's local and it's nighttime. Good night to those that are a little bit ahead of us and can't wait to go to bed. It's finally over. I can go to bed. And then good morning to all those who are getting up, and good afternoon to those who are in the middle of the day. Because we have people all around the world here.
Yeah, so cool.
It's very, very cool. Very awesome. Okay, that's it. See you guys again tomorrow.
Bye.
That was a good one.